The intergalactic alarm. The Pangalactic Council had convened, as it always did, with a cacophony of voices, disagreements, and bureaucratic back and forth that threatened to shake the very foundations of the galaxy. Ambassador Burjan, representative from the monotone Martian Alliance, struggled to keep his 7 eye stalks focused on the towering figure of High Arbiter Blip Blop Sparkle Bang Blip Blop, an alien of such intricate physiology that her shimmering form flickered every few seconds. Her name was derived from her obsession with human cinema, having binge-watched every spy thriller the humans had ever produced, and that obsession was now deeply embedded in her governing style. Bang, bang, bang. The sound of her quad gavel slamming against the table reverberated through the chamber, cutting off the rising noise. Order, order. Blip Blop's voice was so shrill that the entire room reverberated with it. We are gathered to address the matter of human defense protocols. She waved a shimmering tentacle toward the holographic projection that now flickered to life above the assembly. The image depicted what appeared to be a charming, suburban human neighborhood. Neat rows of houses, manicured lawns, and even the occasional decorative gnome. But as the details of the projection unfolded, a chill ran through the room, spreading among the representatives of the galactic races. Ambassador Fizzo Thorpe of the GUI conglomerate, do tell the Council about this unsettling discovery, Blip Blop said, her tone laced with trepidation. The GUI conglomerate representative, Fizzo Thorpe, his gelatinous body rippling nervously, quivered in his seat. His eye stalks shifted, scanning the holo image in front of him as if it were an ancient relic. Their street lamps are antimatter-capable, High Arbiter. He gestured to the display. Who installs antimatter generators in decorative infrastructure? The room collectively shuddered at the revelation. Blip Blop looked like she might faint, but she recovered quickly, glancing back at Fizzo. And that's not even the worst part, is it? Fizzo gulped. No, it's not. They're civilian bunkers, Fizzo stammered, his gelatinous form quivering. They're designed to withstand the impact of a neutron star. A neutron star. A collective gasp swept through the council, and even the normally emotionless Horntrock from the Enquathi conclave released an audible sigh of disbelief. The atmosphere was electric with anxiety. Ambassador Burjan of the monotone Martian Alliance twisted his eye stalk into a complicated knot of stress, clearly disturbed by the situation at hand. Have you seen the specifications on these bunkers? He asked, his voice unnervingly calm despite the crisis unfolding. The door handles are reinforced with plasma shields. But it doesn't stop there. Fizzo added with mounting horror. They have mech-enabled garden gnomes. What? The room erupted in disbelief. Burjan twisted his eye stalk again, forming an awkward pretzel of worry. What's worse is that their gnomes are armed. They're mech-enabled, with quantum scanning capabilities and personal shielding. They even have the ability to transform into bipedal combat mechs. Blip Blop was silent for a long moment, her shimmering body pulsing with the weight of the news. Is this some sort of joke? She asked flatly. No, Fizzo replied gravely. This is real. He pointed to the holo display, which zoomed in on the image of a garden gnome sitting innocently in a flower bed. This isn't a garden gnome. It's an alien surveillance unit, or at least it pretends to be. The holo screen shifted to show footage of a human soldier, whose weapon was mounted in a series of complex harnesses. The humans have a method for everything. Fizzo continued, his voice trembling. Every possible scenario, every possible threat. They have a protocol for it. They call it asterisk, asterisk. Better safe than sorry. The room fell into a deep, tense silence as they watched the footage of an ordinary garden gnome transforming into a humanoid combat machine, complete with plasma cannons and rocket boosters. The holographic images of quantum shielding flickered, and the gnome, now standing as a bipedal mech, fired warning shots into the air. The council erupted once more. Representatives from all corners of the galaxy looked at each other with a mix of disbelief, horror, and sheer uncomprehending awe. How could a race of such primitive origins have developed such elaborate systems of defense? "Do not fret," a voice called out from across the chamber. The gaseous plur, a species known for their musical abilities and strange method of communication, emitted a high-pitched chorus of farts. The noise was surprisingly coherent, translating into what could only be described as horrified agreement. Blip-Blop's shimmering form flickered once again, signaling her distress. "Yes, yes. You are all rightly concerned, but what we must uncover, what we must understand, is why they go to such absurd lengths. What drives them to these paranoia-induced protocols?" A quiet voice piped up from the back of the chamber. Zup, the most experienced analyst in the galaxy, who had dealt with multiple civilizations over the years, was now shaking uncontrollably as he pushed forward with a pale face. "It's their history. Their past shaped them, scared them. They evolved in a chaotic world, riddled with predators, natural disasters, and unpredictable events. They've learned to prepare for everything. To them, it's just normal." Blip-Blop turned to the screen and gestured toward the garden gnome, now standing in the middle of a human neighborhood. "It's all part of a defensive matrix. Everything is interconnected. This is level 1 of their defenses. But what lies beyond this? What if we trigger level 2? A hush settled over the room. "We attempted to investigate level 2, Zup said, his voice shaking. "But the moment we tried to dig deeper, the countermeasures activated." He closed his eyes, as if trying to block out the nightmare. "Our analysts have been receiving cryptic messages from their office plants ever since." Blip-Blop's eyes narrowed. "And these messages, were they hostile?" "No," Zup whispered. "They were cryptic, but not aggressive. The plants started offering cookies." "Cookies," Blip-Blop repeated, her voice filled with both concern and curiosity. "Yes," Zup replied. "Disturbingly good cookies." A tense silence filled the room. The chamber was now quiet, the weight of their discovery settling heavily on their shoulders. These humans were prepared, but for what? And to what extent would they go to ensure their protection? A planet that takes better safe than sorry to the extreme. The Pangalactic Council was in turmoil. Representatives of every major interstellar species exchanged anxious glances, some of them rattling off bureaucratic orders in their native tongues, while others engaged in panic-stricken discussions. It was unlike any crisis the Council had ever faced. Humans, the most unassuming species in the galaxy, had turned out to be a menace unlike any they had imagined. At the center of this chaos was Ambassador Zorth Calvor, who had long prided himself on his diplomatic skills. Having negotiated treaties with some of the galaxy's fiercest civilizations, he felt the weight of this emergency on his back. Still, even he could not help but wonder what the future held for his people and the rest of the galaxy in the face of Earth's overwhelming preparedness. "Why did we think they were easy targets?" Zorth muttered to himself, shaking his head in disbelief. The situation was dire. Human defense protocols were something no one could have anticipated. The entire galaxy, including some of the most advanced species in existence, had dismissed Earth as a primitive species, barely scraping by with basic technology. Yet, as the council chamber continued to fill with panic and freaked-out representatives, Zorth realized just how wrong they had been. Blip-Blop, the High Arbiter, had just slammed her quad gavel into the council table once more, silencing the frantic discussions. "Order." Blip-Blop's voice rang out in a tone that was both authoritative and exasperated. Her form flickered as she struggled to regain control of the situation. Her shimmering body shifted from one hue to another as she tried to bring her mind back to the task at hand. "We are losing focus. The humans are an issue far greater than we imagined. We must understand what drives them to go to such extremes." "What extremes?" Ambassador Burjon of the Monotone Martian Alliance asked, his voice almost trembling with disbelief. "Antimatter street lamps. A defense system built to withstand neutron stars. These humans are operating on an entirely different level. Yes, Zorth replied, his tone solemn. And we have barely scratched the surface of their defense systems. His eye stalks flicked nervously as he processed the reality of their situation. He was not one to be easily shaken, but *** humans had truly broken his perception of their species. Blip-Blop gestured to the holographic display, now showing a close-up of a seemingly innocent suburban neighborhood. This is where it all started, this charming settlement. At first, it seemed harmless, even quaint. But as we uncovered more, we realized this was not just an average human village. The hologram zoomed in on a small structure in the neighborhood. A seemingly ordinary garden gnome, standing proudly in the center of a flower bed. At first glance, it appeared no different from the countless decorative gnomes humans use to adorn their yards. But as the hologram displayed more details, the truth became evident. This garden gnome isn't what it appears, is it? Asked Ambassador Fizzo Thorpe, his gelatinous form writhing with discomfort. What is this? Blip-Blop's shimmering form flickered brightly in acknowledgement. What you see here is not just a garden ornament, but a multifunctional defense unit. It has quantum scanning capabilities, personal shielding, and can transform into a bipedal mech at will. The room went quiet, the air thick with disbelief. This is impossible, said Zup, shaking his head in disbelief. A gnome turned into a mech warrior. Yes, Blip-Blop continued, her voice dead serious. The gnome is not merely a decoration. It is a part of a planet-wide defense matrix, seamlessly connected with every other element of Earth's infrastructure. And their defense network is far more advanced than we thought. Every gnome, street lamp, and civilian bunker are all part of the same system. A system built to repel any and all threats. Zorth's mind reeled. How could a species so seemingly innocent, so young in galactic terms, build such an extensive, efficient, and highly adaptive defense system? His people had had millions of years to develop their own defenses, but they had never come close to anything like this. We are dealing with preparedness on a level we've never encountered, Zorth muttered, rubbing his mandibles in agitation. How could they anticipate this? It's their history, said Zup, the analyst who had been tracking Earth's movements for years. Humans evolved in a chaotic world, filled with dangers and unpredictability. They had to survive by constantly being prepared. Everything they do, everything they build, is based on one principle: better safe than sorry. The room fell silent as Zup's words sank in. This was no longer just a matter of galactic diplomacy or political strategy. This was about survival. They've built a culture of preparation, said Snizzlepoop, a junior analyst who had recently returned from a mission to a human colony. A sneeze from one of their diplomats triggered an entire biohazard protocol. What? Blip-Blop's quad eyes widened. A sneeze. Yes, and that wasn't even the worst part. Snizzlepoop continued, visibly trembling. It triggered the activation of tactical knitting gloves, and within 5 minutes, they had crafted emergency blankets, ropes, and even a trebuchet. Blip-Blop blinked. A trebuchet? How did they? Snizzlepoop's voice wavered as he added. And it wasn't just any trebuchet. It was a fully functional siege weapon, capable of launching projectiles at precise distances. He paused, shaking his head in disbelief. These humans are impossibly prepared for everything. The hologram shifted to display footage of a human pirate raid on a remote outpost. The pirates had underestimated human defenses, which were far more formidable than they realized. The video showed their invasion ship crashing into a weaponized weather satellite, sending their vessel into a tailspin. As the footage continued, the pirates were struck by a barrage of weaponized Silly Putty fired from hidden defenses, while Rick Astley songs played on loudspeakers, blasting through the air with tactical precision. The pirate's ship was disabled within minutes. The drones overhead spelled LOL in the sky with contrails, mocking their attackers. The scene ended with the pirates surrendering. An offer for free lats from a coffee turret was extended to them. 1010 would raid again, read the pirate's review. Zorth stared at the footage, stunned. These humans don't just survive. They humiliate their enemies with memes, coffee, and a sense of humor that borders on sadistic genius. Blip Blop shook her head. This is just level 1 of their defense systems. We must learn about level 2, but we must be cautious. The mere attempt to investigate it triggered countermeasures that we've yet to fully comprehend. Zup raised his tentacle in alarm. And I'm afraid level 2 is even worse. One analyst's coffee machine started dispensing tactical advice. Another's chair unfolded into a sentient security consultant. And the office plants, they keep offering cookies. Disturbingly good cookies. Zorth stared at the hologram, the weight of the situation beginning to settle heavily on his shoulders. Humans weren't just prepared. They were over-prepared. And somewhere, deep within the labyrinth of their systems, there was a defense protocol that went beyond even their most unimaginable capabilities. We need to know more, Blip Blop said, her voice grim. But we must be careful. If their defenses are truly this thorough, they might be anticipating us before we even act. The Human Defense Matrix unleashed. The Pangalactic Council was in a state of absolute turmoil. Ambassador Zorth Calvor had witnessed countless intergalactic invasions, peace treaties, and diplomatic conundrums, but nothing prepared him for the chaos that was unfolding in this very moment. The humans, those who were supposed to be the easiest target, had turned out to be an impenetrable fortress. And Earth, a small, seemingly primitive planet, had become the most formidable force the galaxy had ever encountered. This cannot be happening. Zorth muttered to himself as he stared at the hologram of the human neighborhood projected before him. The gnomes, which initially seemed like nothing more than quaint decorations, were now being revealed as highly sophisticated defense units. He turned his attention back to the holographic display, his mind racing through countless protocols and strategies, trying to understand just how far Earth's defenses went. Ambassador Fberjon was now twisting his longest eye stalk in a way that seemed almost painful to watch. What we're dealing with here is beyond anything we've ever seen. A garden gnome that doubles as a bipedal combat unit. What are they preparing for? Every possible scenario. The hologram continued to show images of the human defensive matrix. As Blip Blop had explained earlier, every gnome, street lamp, and even decorative mailbox was connected to a massive, planet-wide system designed to protect humanity from every possible external threat. The more they uncovered, the more unbelievable it seemed. How do we even begin to understand this? Zorth asked, his voice filled with both awe and fear. The sheer scope of this defense system is beyond our comprehension. We need to know more, but what if they're already anticipating our next move? A new holographic feed flashed across the room, showing footage of Level 2. Blip Blop had been hesitant to reveal this, but it was now clear they had no choice. The scene shifted to an otherwise innocent human-looking home, normal in every way. But as the camera zoomed in, the slightest flicker of movement revealed something even more terrifying than what they had already seen. "Activate surveillance mode," Blip Blop ordered, and the screen zoomed in on the backyard of the house. A normal-looking fence appeared, but as the camera adjusted, hidden mechanisms in the fence were revealed. The fence panels folded away like the sleek plates of an interlocking armor system, revealing dozens of hidden turrets. They were cloaked, silent, waiting. Zorth's body froze. These aren't just defensive systems. They've woven these into their very civilization. He gestured toward the hologram. This is like a living organism, capable of defending every corner of the planet. But how did they achieve this? How can one species have achieved this level of technological sophistication in such a short time? Blip Blop's shimmering form flickered again. "Their history is their strength," she said, her voice low, almost reverent. "Humans have been forced to adapt and survive. From dangerous predators in their environment to natural disasters, they've constantly evolved to stay alive." Her eyes narrowed in thought. Better safe than sorry. That is their way. Every single action is rooted in survival. The projection shifted once more, showing an underground bunker in what appeared to be a standard suburban home. What was once just another house was now revealed as a fortress. The entire structure was reinforced with quantum shielding, the walls laced with nanomaterials capable of withstanding extreme forces. The bunker itself was so deeply buried that even direct strikes from orbital bombardment would have no effect. And then something even more strange appeared. As the camera zoomed in, it revealed a complex network of vines growing along the edges of the bunker. Potted plants, so mundane in their appearance, were part of the defense matrix. The plants were interfacing with a sophisticated bio-network, collecting atmospheric data, triggering countermeasures, and sending encrypted signals through seemingly normal leaves. Zorth stared in disbelief. Plants. It's not just plants, Zup, the analyst, said, his voice shaking. They've integrated biological and mechanical elements into everything. The humans have weaponized life itself, blending their technology with nature to create a seamless defense system. They've thought of everything. Blip-Blop's eyes flashed. This is level 2 of their system. We were not prepared for this. She turned toward the assembly. The humans have developed a defensive matrix that goes far beyond what we anticipated. Fizo Thorpe, still clearly in shock, spoke up. What happens when they reach level 3? We've only scratched the surface of their protocols. If they've weaponized plants, integrated them with tech, and made everything from gnomes to coffee machines part of their defense system, then what's next? What does level 3 look like? Zorth's mind raced. Level 3. If what they had seen was already so terrifying, what could be left? He needed answers, but he could feel the growing panic in his chest. Before he could respond, the hologram shifted again, showing the aftermath of a recent pirate raid. The pirates, who had previously been seen as a minor nuisance in the galaxy, had attempted to raid a remote human outpost. Their ship was swiftly rendered inoperable by human defenses, and the pirates were soon immobilized by Silly Putty foam cannons, a tactic that left them stunned and helpless. The humans, using a combination of humor and sheer force, disarmed them with ridiculous precision. The pirates' own weaponry had been turned back against them. Weaponized foam to immobilize, propaganda music, and drone contrails spelling LOL in the sky. The footage ended with the pirates' surrender, a note of humiliating defeat in their report. 10/10 would not raid again. The chamber was silent, all eyes glued to the screen. Humans had not only survived the raid, but they had mocked their attackers with humor, creative strategies, and a strategic use of their own bizarre culture. Humans don't just defend. They humiliate their enemies, Faberjon said, his voice low with a mixture of awe and fear. Asterisk, asterisk, they don't fight by conventional means. They weaponize everything. Asterisk, asterisk, memes, humor, even everyday objects. We're dealing with a civilization that's capable of anything. Blip-Blop slammed her gavel again. Enough panic. We need a plan. Level 3 of their defense system is still unknown, but we need to prepare. We must study them more closely before they unleash the full force of their capabilities. Zorth nodded gravely, his voice steady but filled with underlying concern. We need to go deeper, into their defense systems, into their culture, and we must understand why they prepared this way. And we must act before they escalate further. The room remained tense, the weight of the future pressing down on every species in the galaxy. The humans had shown the galaxy what they were capable of, but no one had any idea just how far their preparedness would go.